Class is now in session. I'm Professor Rocky, and today we will be doing my predictions for round 2 of the NHL playoffs. And jumping right in is the first series on the Western Conference side, the Golden Knights versus the Vancouver Canucks. The Golden Knights in their round 1 series faced off against the Blackhawks, and while some of the games were close, it was pretty much usually in control of the Golden Knights, and they ended up winning in 5 games. The Canucks, on the other hand, had to face off against the defending Stanley Cup champions, came out to an early 2-0 lead before the Blues fought back, tied up the series, but the Canucks would win Game 5 and 6 to finish it off and take the victory in 6 games. This is bound to be a very interesting series. Both of these teams are very high scoring. The Golden Knights, one of the highest scoring teams in the NHL. The Canucks, their young players, their offensive players have been just lighting it up during these playoffs. So we might have a very high scoring series, although both of these goaltenders on either side, Markstrom for the Canucks, and I guess you could say either Lehner or Fleury on the Golden Knights side, have also been quite solid through these playoffs. Markstrom especially has really performed exceptionally well. And so it'll be interesting to see how this series ends up going. In terms of my prediction, I'm going to have to go with the Golden Knights. I truly believe they are the best team in the Western Conference, and I think the Canucks will put up a great fight. But I think the Golden Knights defensively are just a bit higher, or maybe substantially higher than where the Canucks are defensively, and as such they'll probably be able to consistently win more games, and so I'll say that the Golden Knights will take it in 6 games. The second series on the Western Conference side is Avalanche versus Stars. The Avalanche in the first round faced off against the Coyotes, and it was a very dominant series performance by the Avalanche. They did end up losing one game, and one of the games in their victory was kind of close, but mostly because Darcy Kemper for the Coyotes was really doing a whole lot to try and keep the Coyotes alive in that series. Otherwise, Avalanche completely dominated and won the series in 5 games. The Stars, on the other hand, were the better team throughout the majority of their series against the Calgary Flames, but it was a lot closer. Even games that the Stars were dominant in or in control of were still 1-goal victories. And as such, in the end, the Dallas Stars did end up winning in 6, but I do think the Avalanche will take this series, and it might not even go all that far. I would say the Avalanche could take it in 5 games. Reason being, I feel as though if the Stars had a bit of trouble here with the Flames, even if they were in control with the games close, I feel like the Avalanche, who are basically just a much more improved version of the Calgary Flames, with strong young players on offense who actually show up in the playoffs, a better goaltender, and better defense. I just don't really see how the Stars can actually keep up, where their defense has been shaky, which is surprising in these playoffs, and their goaltending from Khudobin, since Ben Bishop is unfit to play, has also looked hit or miss at times. So as I said, Avalanche in 5. On the Eastern Conference side, Flyers versus Islanders. The Flyers in their first round series had some trouble with the Montreal Canadiens. They did end up winning it in 6 games, but the wins did not come easy and the losses were tough for them to face. And so not a lot of hope for the Flyers moving forward of whether or not they can actually deal with this Islanders team, who through the first couple of rounds, as they did play in the play-ins, have looked fantastic. They managed to take out the Capitals, who were Stanley Cup champions just 2 years ago, in 5 games, looking pretty much unstoppable for most of those games, just consistently outplaying the Capitals through basically every single period, barring a couple of them. And so at the moment, I have to give this series to the Islanders. They seemingly are just clicking on most of their pages, as basically you could say. And as such, I would actually give the Islanders in a pretty brief series. I would say, I guess I'll go with 6 games. I think the Flyers might be able to take a couple, but the Islanders will likely come out on top. And then the final series of the second round would be Lightning versus Bruins, potentially the most interesting series of them all. This is going to be a clash between 2 extremely strong teams. The Tampa Bay Lightning were dealing with their demons from the last year with the Columbus Blue Jackets in the first round, and the games were close, the games were tight. We needed quintuple overtime in one of them, but in the end, it is the Lightning who would win in 6 games. On the Bruins side, they faced off against a strong Carolina Hurricanes team, and they made it look relatively easy, making them able to finish off the Hurricanes in just 5 games. So this will be a tight series. I suspect the Lightning will revert back to their usual style of maybe a higher tier of offense, since the Bruins don't necessarily play as suffocatingly defensively as the Blue Jackets do. And I think what this will eventually end up coming down to is a couple of bounces either way. I don't really see how this series doesn't go 7 games at this point. I feel as though these teams are so evenly matched that will be the case, and I'm actually going to end up giving the edge to the Tampa Bay Lightning in this series. I think they will win it in 7 games, maybe because I think Halak could be a bit of an issue in this series for the Boston Bruins, but it's bound to be a close one, and I could absolutely see the Bruins coming out on top in the end. Class dismissed.